Hello to you all. My name is James Shone. People may know me, but if you don't know me, my brief story is that I was a teacher for 16 years and was about to become a head teacher, and it was at the medical, having got this job, that I was diagnosed with a large brain tumour, two big operations, and really life-changing, pretty much because of my loss of sight. So no sight in my left eye and about 10% vision in my right eye. That meant that with a wife, with 4 children, life became very, very different. I suppose I could say I had it all one day and the next day I'd lost it all. I now run a charity called I Can and I Am, which has a website, icanandiam.com. And one thing I'd love to just share with you today and over the next week or two is I had a fascinating time with, I suppose, one of my kind of educational icons, a man called Richard Backhouse. And we were talking about how the world today is a very uncertain world, and young people going into it don't necessarily need to be prepared in the way that we were, which was for a very linear, very predictable, a very certain world. They are now facing a very, very uncertain world, and therefore, what skills do they need? And Richard was, is very wise to say that, the 3 principal skills are resilience, 1, 2 is a confidence in their identity, not in their achievements, and thirdly, an adaptability. Now, what I would love to do is share with you all those 3 points, and I'll do that over the next 3 weeks. So firstly, I would love to talk about resilience. And resilience has very much been a part of my journey, having had a whack of my health and, losing my sight, living life really as a blind man, and my left leg, I've had 2 small strokes, so I can't run, and my balance is very, very poor indeed. So the word resilience, is very, very much been a part of my journey. And I think Richard's absolutely right. That is what young people need in this world. So what I'd love to do is ask, first of all, what is resilience? Then ask the question, why do we need it in today's world? And then the final question of how do we kind of teach it or pass it on? What can we be doing as parents to help develop our young people with that all-important resilience? So the first question, what is it? I see it like a kind of stickability. It's a mindset, and it's like I kind of see it as a hard rock that is out in the ocean that is being sort of smashed by a tempestuous sea, but somehow it stands firm. It weathers, it takes the hits, and it doesn't move. It's not sort of bowled over. It's not like the house that's built on the sand that looks lovely on a sunny day, but on a windy, wet day, it's kind of game over. Some people call it a bounce back ability. I sometimes feel that's a slightly sort of almost childish image of it, where it's sort of bouncy, a bit like a Teletubby. It's kind of, it is that we do bounce back, but that we weather the storms. So that's what it is. Why do we need it? Well, like I've already said, I think that, young people are moving into a very, very uncertain world. A world where we can't predict. I suppose when I was at school, it was school, and then you went to university, then you got your career. And I remember going to my father about 2 or 3 years after I started work. So I trained as a chartered surveyor, and I wasn't a very good chartered surveyor. So I remember going to him and saying, Dad, I'm going to stop surveying, and I want to become a teacher. And I remember him just looking at me with a sense of, but you can't do that. And the reality is you can. Of course you can. And that was his mindset, was that it's that sort of old mastermind adage of I've started so I'll finish. Well, it's not like that. And certainly in today's world, it's not like that. They are now moving all over the place, from this to this to this to this. And they have to kind of develop that creative entrepreneurialistic kind of attitude towards all that they're doing. And I think there is a legacy perhaps on us as parents that we have been too busy mollycoddling our kids, doing everything for them, and that when the challenging times come, when the waves buffet against them, they do fall because, quite frankly, we've done too much for them. And they have been brought up in a kind of rights world, a world where it's my right, I get, I deserve, I am, rather than that sort of sense of duty and responsibility. And that has taken away that ability to kind of stand firm when the challenges come. So the key question is, how do we help them? How do we help them? And I think that the first thing I want to say on this is that it can't be taught. I know some schools have started sort of resilience lessons and do this, do that. I think it is most authentically learnt. It's when things go wrong, and that to that extent we mustn't be failure avoidant as parents, as educators, as schools, because I really do believe that failure is a learning opportunity. If us as adults were going to have a sort of hippie circle time and we were to ask each other, what's the most valuable thing you've learnt in your life, we would probably all share when something went wrong. What have I learnt through this tumour? Immeasurable amounts. And I think that that is reality. So a setback, I sometimes say, is a springboard for people. A setback is a springboard. We can teach young people, instead of to define themselves by, oh, I'm a blind man, we actually refine ourselves. Refine. We reflect on it and say, oh, what did we do wrong? What can I learn from it? And we get better as a result. And those are the winners. They're the stayers. If we're to create a kind of horse racing analogy, they're the stayers for the full journey. If they learn to reflect and to refine, improve themselves, rather than something go wrong, it's like, oh, I'm rubbish, oh, I'm a loser. I always say to young people, we have one life, and we don't want to live it in that sense of, oh, I'm a loser. But no, a setback can teach us. So we want to teach our kids to reflect, to refine, and to move forward. And I always say that parents should try and do three things. First of all, don't always step in. Don't try and stop them from falling. Actually, it is when they fall, it's when they hurt themselves that they can truly learn. So the analogy of a child falling over and hitting themselves on concrete and crying and yelling, actually they then learn that to run on a wet surface is not wise. They've learned that lesson. But take the metaphor in a more realistic sense, it's actually they do something and they learn from it. Actually, when we're 14, 15, 16, that is the time for learning. So let them fall, let them fail, and then thereby learn from it. The second thing is, I love this term of our homes being places of an ambience of affirmation. That's a kind of quality where they live around a sense of you can, you are good, I do value you, you are a champion. And I think that really does grow young people. And in my language, I can and I am, I talk about balloons, but that sense of a balloon being inflated by that sense of encouragement and ambience of affirmation. You've got it, you can do it, you're a champion. And I love the idea of noticing. We notice and we cheer on, we applaud authentically, not empty praise, but authentically. And then the final step is to encourage young people to have an attitude of gratitude. And I'll really say to you all that actually gratitude has probably been, over the course of my 8 years of losing my sight and losing my ability to do so many things, but learning to dwell on the black in the account, the positive, where there is a deposit, has really been such an enriching and powerful thing for me to do. So resilience is a massively important word. And to sort of simplify and sum up, I'd say it is something that is learnt, and it can't necessarily be taught with a lesson, but we need to allow our young people to authentically fall and thereby learn their lessons. Thank you very much.